In today's video, we are going to learn and master the use of the dot in Excel. This helps a lot in data cleaning for data analysis and data manipulations. Assuming I want to reference this cell to this, there are zeros added to it. So how do we take these zeros off? That is the main focus for today. The fastest and easiest way to do this is to add a dot. We also have some few functions that could do this. We can trim the zeros off as well. Let's look at few ways and more practical ways where these things will be needed. So in this case, to remove this dot, I can just open the formula again. So if I put a little dot just behind the C and press enter, you can see that automatically the zeros are gone. So even in the future, if I add more values to this, they will appear, but now the zeros are gone. Alternatively, we can also use the trim function to do the same work. So let's just wrap the whole formula in trim. You will notice that we have trim and trim range. All those things are useful in their own way, but as we get further, we will understand the uses of both. For now, let's just use the trim, open bracket, then you close the bracket. So you can see the zeros are gone as well. Now let's look at a practical example where this thing is very useful. So for instance, I'm operating 3 stores. I have 3 branches, and I wanted to put together a summary of how much each of them are selling every day and how much each of them are spending every day. So I have the data scattered in this form, but I want them all in one place. So I wanted to use a reference. So I reference one sheet to the other so I can monitor the performance in real time. Assuming I wanted to know the total sales based on the days for each of them, there are 2 approaches I can use here, or there are more. But in this example, we are just going to base on the 2 ways to bring the data here. So we can just go by the traditional referencing, where we say is equal to, just go to the sheet, I highlight the range. So let's say I want it up to 30. Press enter. So automatically all the data is here. The reason why I extend it is because in the future, if I'm adding or if there are new data in, they will automatically add here so that I don't have to do it manually. So since I already have one side and the table are just close to each other, I can just click on this. When the mouse cursor turns black, I just drag it here and automatically this side is filled too. Now going to sheet 2, I can use the same trick, or I use a V-stack to get it done. That one will also work here. So let's look at the V-stack. So to use a V-stack is equal to V-stack, open bracket, I go to sheet 2, highlight the range, close the bracket, press enter. So we can also use V-stack to do this. Then to get for the expense, the same way, just click here, drag it, and the rest is filled. Now the third one, we can either choose to use the traditional way or use a V-stack. Whichever you prefer is fine. So let me just go the traditional way. I press enter. Now to get for the expense, I just do this and it's done. Now you can see that all the data is here. So in the future, if I want to add more or if I want to take away some, it automatically displays here. So you can see that now this is the last one. If I delete it there, it will delete here too. If I take it out, it's gone here. But the issue now is there are 000s always appearing here. How to solve this? We have 2 ways we can go by it. Now we can just put a little dot just beside here. So let's first click in the first formula. By adding a little dot here to solve the problem. Press enter, the magic is done. You can see the zeros are gone. If I want for this, I can go and do the same thing. It solves all the problems. The good thing is if I do for one, I can just drag it just like I did before. It should be able to solve the problem. So you see, it's very simple. Or better still, we have another way to go by it. If you think you don't know how to use that, let's use a formula. We can use a trim function to get this done. Let's just click here. Let's trim the range. So we close the bracket. So it's gone. Now the trim can also do this, while the dot can also do it. So depending on whichever you think is okay for you, you can just do that. Since we trim one side, we can just click and drag, and you see the zeros are gone. Now if I add any data in the future, and come back here, it's here. So now it's gone. So you decide whichever way you think you can do it better. Either by using the trim range to trim the zeros off. Then there could be instances where there's going to be a zero at the beginning. So let's look at it really quickly. Assuming there's no data at the beginning. So now let's look at scenario 2. In instances where we try trimming off the excess zeros here, there could be some instances where there are zeros at the beginning too. So assuming the first row here is blank, and we prefer to trim it off or to remove those completely. Going back here, you can see that there are zeros at the beginning. So in this case, the good thing about using the trim function is if you use the trim range, it's going to trim off the zeros from the beginning or at the end because it's trimming the range. But if we use trim alone, this is how it's going to be. So trim alone is going to trim whatever comes afterwards, but the trim range is actually going to take away the range, which is the top and the bottom. So that is the difference between using the trim and the trim range. So this one is actually taking care of or removing the zero part, whilst this is still keeping it trim and trim range. So what of instances where we use the dot instead of using the trim? Well, it's very simple here too. You just have to add a dot again at the beginning of this and hit the enter. Magic. So it means the first dot is for the last part, which is any zeros that come after. Then if you want to remove any zeros that come before, you just add another dot again, hit the enter, it's done. So that's the magic. So we are done for today's lesson. If you like videos like this, make sure you follow us, subscribe to the channel, like and comment on anything that you want us to do next or something you didn't understand, then we can get it for you. I'll see you in the next one.